What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Cole Mize, and I'm going to be switching things up a little bit today. And I want to cover a documentary that recently came out about MGK, and it's called Life of Pink, which is on Hulu, I do believe, exclusively. And if you haven't seen this already and you don't want any spoilers, stop watching this right now, go check it out, and then come back here if you want to hear what I have to say about it. Now, before I heard about this documentary, I was already pretty high on MGK. And I want to share with you a little bit about that process. So a lot of people already was somewhat familiar with MGK because of his beef that he had with Eminem. That put a lot more eyeballs on MGK. And even I recently went back and kind of revisited those diss tracks. And I got to be honest, initially I thought Eminem got MGK, but upon listening back to it, maybe being a little bit less biased, I feel like MGK may have got the better of Eminem, not on some rapidy rap stuff or how technical his raps were in comparison to Eminem's, but I just feel like MGK had more digs at Eminem. Let me know in the comment section below if y'all think I'm crazy, if I done bumped my head. I'd be curious to hear what you guys thought about it, but I feel like MGK just had way more things to tackle Eminem with, to go at him with, because Eminem's been popular for way longer in the public eye, and I just feel like he had more artillery, if you will, to go against with Eminem, and I don't think Eminem really had as much on MGK. I think they both had really good digs at each other, but I feel like MGK had more, and probably for that reason. But that's just my 2 cents of an opinion, but let me know in the comment section below what y'all think. But apart from that, my wife actually put me on to one of his newer albums called Tickets to My Downfall. And I got to tell y'all, man, I love this album. It's like one of my favorite albums that I've listened to as of recent. And it's not a hip hop album. And I'm not someone who just likes one genre of music. I'm a music lover. And if something makes me feel something when I listen to it, then usually I'm going to like it. And this is an album that I could play from start all the way to finish. And that says a lot, and I just love that album. I've heard it a lot of times at this point, but that's one of the main reasons why MGK has been on my radar, and I've been pretty high on him as of late. I wouldn't necessarily consider myself a fan of MGK. I don't even really consider myself a fan of anyone, because I feel like a fan is someone who is a fanatical person towards something. And that's like a badge of honor. Like, that's someone who's like following everything they do, everything they come out with. They're going to their shows, they're buying all their merch and stuff like that. I'm not really like that with anybody. It's kind of hard for me to keep up with what everybody's doing and all that type of stuff. But I am someone who's very high on MGK, and I have been very impressed with what he's been doing as of late. So that's how MGK got on my radar to begin with. So when I heard about this documentary, I was highly interested in it. So just to give you a quick overview about the documentary, it gives you a really pretty good overview over the rise of MGK. It's showing like a lot of old footage from when he just started out, when he was really poor, and all the way up until his rise to where he's at now. And it shows you all the pitfalls along the way. It shows you a lot of the behind the scenes grinding and the struggle and the difficulties that come with fame. And MGK is very transparent about his own issues. He's very vulnerable, which I really like, and very honest about his own struggles. It's not trying to paint him in this picture like he just got it all together and he's just all of that. And I think it does a remarkable job of taking you on this ride. I mean, you can literally feel the tension and the stress and the anxiety at times. And I think it does a really great job showing you what he's going through and people that he's close to are going through because of his fame and this strong drive that he has. And here's a few things that I found interesting about it. One is MGK has caught like a lot of backlash on his more recent albums because they're like a hybrid of like rock, pop, and hip hop. And so you have people within those genres, you can call them purists, if you will. And they're like, this isn't real rock, or this isn't real pop, or this ain't real hip hop. What is this? And I thought that was very interesting because that's been a common theme, a common gripe, if you will, since like the beginning of time about any genre of music. For an example, you'll hear people say like, that's not real rock and roll, man. This is real rock, or this ain't real country. Like, this contemporary country has like a lot of trap hip hop elements in it, 808s and stuff like that. And like, that's not real country. Real country's supposed to sound like this. And even hip hop, early hip hop, it was frowned upon for you to do like melodic stuff and to sing in your tracks because rap was like counterculture. It's like all these years before hip hop, you heard primarily singing and stuff like that. Well, these people started doing this rap thing, which is doing something different, and they're not singing. They're kind of like speaking rhythmically and poetically over tracks while rhyming a lot. And so it was kind of frowned upon to do any type of singing stuff. And then in the early 90s, you had groups like Bone Thugs and Harmony popping up who were singing. They were fusing singing and rapping really fast together. And that's one of the things that made them stand out and have their own unique sound. So Soulja Boy, when he came out, his stuff wasn't as lyrical and it was more about dancing and partying and stuff like that. He caught a lot of flack because he was doing that. Or when mumble rap first came out, I mean, everybody was talking about, what do you think about the current state of hip hop? What do you think about these mumble rappers? And mumble rap continued to grow and grow and grow and grow. It didn't go away. So regardless of what some of the purists felt about this change in their genre of music, it doesn't matter. Like, people's going to listen and support what it is they like. And that's one thing I really respect about what MGK has done is he's switched things up and he's taken pieces of multiple genres and creating his own music out of it. And that's one thing I've always encouraged my students to do is don't worry about what the last hit was and trying to copy that. Don't do that. Like, just be yourself. Like, make the music that you want to hear. Don't be worried about appealing to the masses, like what the masses are going to like. Make the music you like. And there's going to be enough people out there, as long as you do what you're supposed to do on the marketing and promotion side of things, and you're making good music, there's going to be people out there that rock with what you're doing. And you want fans that really like what it is that you really, truly like, And so being an artist is very much a path of self-discovery. And it takes courage to be an artist because you have to be in tune with what you feel and what you like. And you got to have the courage, which means the strength to stand alone sometimes. When you feel like there's no one else on that same program as you, or other people don't understand where you're coming from, you got to have the courage to double down and say, this is what I'm doing. Either you with it or you're not. But this is me, and this is what I'm feeling, and this is what I'm putting out. And that's one thing I admire about what MGK has done and is continuing to still do. He doesn't fit in this box, and that's totally okay. Like, I feel that same way myself. Another thing that really stood out to me was MGK's been working with a producer called Slim Goods since the very beginning, and they're still together. I think that's dope. I love to see that when people can come up together. And one thing I get out of that is, like, you rappers or singers or musicians, if you can work one-on-one with a producer, that's ideal. Like, it doesn't get any better than that. It's, and typically it's best if you work with a producer who's somewhat where you currently are and y'all both need each other and you come up together. It can be a little bit more difficult to work with a producer that's already established and you're not, because they may feel like you're not bringing as much to the table unless you just really, really fire as a songwriter and as a rapper and stuff like that. But like Organized Noise and Outkast, they came up together. Outkast was writing all these dope raps. Organized Noise is making all these dope beats. But they needed someone to rap over those dope beats, and Outkast needed some dope beats to rap over. So they were mutually benefiting each other, and they came up together. And so if the song did good, it was good for both of them, So that's one thing I really liked about seeing him and his producer, Slim Goods, still working together till this day and coming up together. I thought that was really dope. Another thing that stood out to me is that MGK is an artist. And let me define or share my definition of what I think an artist is. I feel like an artist is a visionary. It's not just a rapper or just a singer. It's beyond that. Like, those are mediums, rapping and singing. These are mediums to express yourself. But a visionary is someone who has a vision. It's someone who sees things that's not there and they manifest it into reality. A visionary is someone who's attached to pretty much every aspect of what they're doing creatively. They're not just creative with the music. They're also creative with, let's say, how they market themselves, how they dress, how they want to look, color schemes, how they want their music video to be, how they want their album artwork to be. You know, like there's parts in this documentary where it's showing MGK changing his album artwork at the last minute because he had like another vision. I think it was of people like throwing like pink tomatoes at him, like naysayers, like, you know, dogging him out for what he's doing, saying you're trash and stuff like that. It also showed him there before one of his shows, and like it's like an empty arena, and they're like setting up the lights and stuff like that. And he was being like really critical of how the lights were interacting with the music. Again, that's the visionary. Like he sees like this is how this show is supposed to be. And he's being influential in making that vision that he has come out. The same thing even in the studio, like a certain way the song should sound, certain instruments should be in there. Like a visionary is just an overall creative person. It's not just being creative while writing songs. It's like every aspect of it, you know? Another thing too that stood out to me is just how long MGK's been grinding. And it can be easy from the outside looking in to look at someone's success and say, I want that success, right? But it's very important not to overlook the process and what it took to get there. That's even more important to look at. Look at all the struggles. Look at all the difficulties and the adversity they had to overcome. Look at all they've sacrificed to get to that point. It's easy to walk into a store and you see like all the strawberries and the oranges and stuff like that. And you're like, hey, I want these strawberries and these oranges. But you don't always think about what it took to get it to that store. You know, that farmer that had to plant all those seeds in the ground and make sure nothing else stole the crop, or, you know, having to actually process it and pack it up and then ship it and drive it to the store and then to merchandise it and to rotate it and to make sure it's fresh and it's well kept. Like there's a whole process that goes into what you see as the fruit of someone's labor. And MGK has been grinding his butt off for a very, very long time. He released his first project, I believe in 2007, and he's been working very, very hard ever since. And that's just when he released it. That's not even to talk about how long he was already rapping and developing as an artist before he released this stuff in 2007. And it just goes to show you the process of developing and blossoming and stuff is a lot of hard work. There's a saying that it comes to mind is it took like 10 years to become an overnight success. Like when people see somebody popping off, they think, oh, they just, you know, released a song and now they're popular all of a sudden. They don't see like the tens and thousands of hours that went into before that happened, or the years that went into before that happened of just working hard consistently. And this documentary does a great job of showing you that evolutionary process of where MGK came from to get to where he's at now. Also, another interesting thing that I got was his why, his reasoning behind why was he grinding so hard? Why is he working so hard? And a lot of it ties in with his own issues that he's had growing up with abandonment and being neglected. And this is a common theme with a lot of us. You know, this is what pushes a lot of us to be so good at something. Because if we can just be super good at something, we can't be denied attention. We can't be denied love. We can't be denied affection. That's a way for us to try to heal ourselves from what we've lacked and we've been missing growing up. And that can be a healthy thing as long as you keep it balanced. And at some point in time, you get to a point where you love yourself and you can forgive people who's hurt you in the past and stuff like that. But it can be a very lonely and a very toxic thing if you never get that in check, because then your happiness is completely dependent upon other people validating you and giving you attention. And at some point, you need to get to the point where you're secure in who you are and validating yourself and not necessarily needing other people to do it. And so that's another thing I really loved about this documentary is MGK is like honest about that. He talks about the trauma that his father went through. His father witnessed his grandfather kill himself in front of him. I think it was like with a shotgun to the head or something like that, or just a gun to the head. And so his father experienced that trauma, and that trauma was passed on to MGK, and MGK caught some of that as well. And it's just that perpetual cycle of just trauma repeating itself. And he's very open about that. And I thought it was interesting to hear that side of him kind of talking about why he does what he does, and just being honest and transparent about his own struggles and issues and vulnerabilities. And that also ties into something else I thought was interesting too is, so him and Megan Fox, which is his fiance now, they started getting really together like during the pandemic. And so he wasn't able to perform. And so it was revealing because it showed you how much of his identity and his self-worth was wrapped up in him performing, because he was just telling her over and over again, like, man, I want you to see me perform. So basically, like, you can see that I'm not just this corny guy, like I'm cool and stuff. And she said, I don't love you for what you do. I love you for who you are. And I thought that was pretty dope, man. Cause man, when it comes to like fame and success and stuff like that, man, there's so many leeches. There's so many people who are just around you for what they can get out of you. And they don't care about you as a person. They don't care about your well-being. They don't care how you're doing. Like, they just want to suck everything they can out of you. Even if it kills you, they don't care, because all they're doing is thinking about themselves, and you are their ticket for them being successful or getting money or whatever. And I think it's important to keep people around you who are real with you and who will speak the truth to you, people who will look out for your well-being and tell you, man, you need to sit your butt down, you're doing too much. Or yeah, you got a booger in your nose, or somebody missed something when they was cutting your hair. Like, that's real people. You want to keep real people around you who love you for who you are, not what you are. Also, another thing that kind of broke my heart when I was watching it was showing you how hard MGK's been going. And he's had this goal of having the second #1 album with a Mainstream Sellout, which is the album that came after Tickets to My Downfall, which was the album that really got me high on MGK, Tickets to My Downfall. And he wanted to follow it up just to prove all the haters wrong. Like, this isn't an accident. This isn't a fluke. Like, watch me do it again. And it just shows you how obsessive he was and how hard he was pushing himself to make this next one a success. And you could really feel like the tension and the stress and like the anxiety and just how exhausting it was. And he talks about how much he had to sacrifice, to the point to where he even said on this one scene where he was on the way to his daughter's volleyball match, he was talking about how he's putting in all these hours on the album every day, and then whatever time he had left, he was giving that to like his daughter and his fiance. And that's the part that kind of broke my heart, because that just shows you how messed up the priorities can be if you don't keep them in check, because like, what's the point of all that sacrifice if you're sacrificing the people that need you the most? You know what I'm saying? Like, the people who love you the most, and you're not giving them the time that they need with you, And again, that's easy for me to say from the outside looking in, right? But it's a common theme that you hear all the time. Like, Eminem did that song Mockingbird, same exact scenario. The world is calling for Eminem to come do these shows and perform, but Eminem's only one person. There's only so much of him to go around, and his daughter is just desiring to spend time with her daddy, and she needs her dad. And he's not there because he's doing the shows for everyone else. So it really did a good job showing you that struggle of MGK having this strong passion and stuff to be #1 and, have all this success, but at the same time, it's showing you the rifts and the way that that's hurting people around him and how that's affecting people around them. And I think that's very important that we have to understand boundaries, because you can overdo anything. Too much of anything can be harmful to you. You know what I'm saying? Like, breathing in too much air can kill you. Drinking too much water can kill you. But not getting enough of those things can kill you as well. So balance is moderation. And that's a constant thing we're all trying to achieve in life. It's a constant struggle to try to maintain that balance. And then towards the end, where he gets the news that his Mainstream Sellout went #1, it shows him getting that news. He's sitting there signing autographs like for the album covers and stuff like that. And it was talking about how his fiance Megan Fox had just left him, and he's pissed. Like, you can just tell, like, he got the news and he was just completely beside himself. He wasn't even excited about it. He couldn't celebrate it because he was so hurt because, his fiance had walked out on him, likely due to being neglected, which is interesting, right? Because that's a big part of why he's doing all this stuff in the first place, because he was neglected. And then you're seeing how that drive is causing him to neglect those who are nearest and dearest to his heart, those who love him and need him the most. He even revealed that he tried to commit suicide by putting a shotgun in his mouth while he's talking to her. And sad, man. It was sad. It just goes to show you how the reality of this whole situation is. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just see the fame and the glitz and the glamour, and you don't see like behind the scenes what people are sacrificing to have that, and what is causing their relationships to be like. You know what I'm saying? And again, there's a balance that's needed. And, you know, I love how the documentary kind of ended up, how they kind of summarized it at the end, because he's basically saying that now he wants his daughter to be like his next hit album, meaning that he wants to put his all into raising his daughter, and he wants to be his daughter's biggest fan and biggest supporter. And I thought that was beautiful, the way they kind of put a nice little bow on it at the end of, you know, he's admitting like his own faults and stuff like that, and sharing how he's wanting to be a better father moving forward, and, you know, being there for his fiance, and kind of maybe rearranging his priorities a bit to try to maintain some balance. And I also really thought that his relationship with his daughter was beautiful. And he seems to be really honest with her, and they seem to have the type of relationship where his daughter can, you know, correct MGK about some things. Like if he's in the wrong, she can talk to him about it, and he can be honest with her. And he's not just like, I'm your father and you can't tell me nothing. And, you know, that type of superiority complex or something. So I thought that was a nice little touch. And there's a lot that you can get out of this documentary. You know, like it always inspires me to see people's grind and their hustle, but I also learn from people's mistakes. So hopefully I don't make those same mistakes and I don't repeat them. And I enjoyed how vulnerable MGK is, like how honest he is about his struggles and his shortcomings. And he's not saying he has it all together, and he's trying. And that also causes people to want to root for him. You know what I'm saying? Like people love to cheer people on and see people overcome struggles. It's the interesting thing. Like people love to see people fall when they're doing good, and people love to see people overcome struggles to get to a good place. It's an interesting dynamic. But if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I thought it was wonderfully put together. Be sure to check it out. Again, it's called Life in Pink, and it's available, I believe, exclusively on Hulu. Check it out, and let me know what your thoughts are in the comments section below. And also let me know if you enjoyed me covering this and you want to see some more content kind of like this, where I may be reacting to things or reviewing things and stuff like that are kind of related to this whole music stuff. Let me know in the comments section below. I'd love to hear from y'all. My name is Cole Mize with ColeMizeStudios.com, where I strive to make you a better rapper now. And if you're trying to perfect your rap skills, make sure that you get yourself a free copy of my ebook, The #1 Fundamental to Rapping, via the link in the video's description below. And subscribe to this channel for straight to the point, how to rap video tutorials. And always remember, when it comes to rapping, there's no rules, there's only techniques. Peace. Hey man, you see that subscribe button right there? Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Oh, and don't forget the bell icon. Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. Hey, I know you see that like button, right? Kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it, kill it. And look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself, today I'm gonna kill it, kill it.